In Greece, around Easter time, you'll find Tsoureki, a braided holiday bread traditionally baked at home on the Thursday before Easter, and it's embellished with red hard-boiled eggs. Tsoureki loaves are given as gifts to family and friends to celebrate the festive season. We're using bread flour to create a good gluten formation. So into the bowl of your mixer. Now this is an easy dough because everything goes right into this bowl. There's no proofing of the yeast or anything. So 1 cup of room temperature water, 3 tablespoons of honey, Greek honey if you're making a Greek bread, and 3/4 of an ounce of fresh yeast. Fresh yeast you might have a little bit difficulty finding, but it's really worth it. And this is a living microscopic organism which converts sugar or starch into alcohol and carbon dioxide and causes the nice rising of the dough. So let this just sit for a moment to dissolve. And the honey is like food for the yeast. I love making yeast doughs. 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of orange zest, and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and bread flour. We're going to use 1.5 pounds, which is about 4.5 cups. Now you can weigh if you'd like, which works very, very well, or measure carefully, dipping and leveling in a jar like this. And one last thing, the sugar. This is a slightly sweet bread, so 1/4 cup of sugar. So that's everything except the egg yolks. Now the machine is fitted with a dough hook, which will mix and knead the bread at the same time. And I'll just turn this on. I still have to add the egg yolks, 8 egg yolks. And reserve the egg whites for meringues, for other things. And we're going to start adding that because the dough needs a little bit of moisture. So let this knead and knead. The dough used in Tsoureki is rich with eggs, making it similar to Jewish challah bread and other traditional egg breads made around the world. So once the dough starts flopping around like that and comes away from the sides of the bowl, it's pretty much done, as much as the machine will do. Lift this up, release your dough hook. Still sticky, so you're going to do a little tiny bit more kneading. But what a gorgeous color dough, greatly enhanced by those farm fresh organic eggs that I used. So scrape away. This little bench scraper works very, very well for cleaning up the bowl and the mixer. Scrape down the sides. And this is going to make one big challah bread. And when I say big, wait till you see how big. So scrape everything out of the bowl onto a floured board. And look at how pretty. You can see the little specks of orange zest. And flatten this out. Don't incorporate any more flour into the dough because you want a moist dough. And just pull down the top here, pull up the bottom, brushing off excess, fold this in, and this. So you're making a nice little package. And this goes right into an oiled bowl. Oil with some unflavored vegetable oil, like a safflower oil will do. And then a piece of plastic wrap, brushed with a little bit more oil to cover the whole thing. Put this right on the surface of the dough and over the edges because you don't want the dough to stick. And put this in a dry, warm spot until it's at least doubled in bulk. So here is our dough. So yellow, so great. Now turn this out onto a floured surface. You don't want a lot of flour. It's like a beach ball. Now deflate the dough and cut it into 3 equal pieces. Use a bench scraper like this. It works very well. And each of these 3 pieces roll into a snake 18 inches long. But try to make the cylinders pretty much even. because you want a nice, even bread. 3. And then you pinch the ends together, and you'll tuck this under. And braid as you would a hair braid. Over, over. A tight braid would be good. I think that's good. Now, on Easter, they sometimes insert a red hard-boiled egg, and we'll show you what that looks like. But I prefer baking this without the eggs and serving it with the eggs on the platter, just because the red kind of bakes off into the bread and people don't like eating that. Put this on the diagonal and again cover with an oiled piece of plastic wrap. If you don't oil your plastic wrap, it will pull the dough when you try to remove it and make little ugly marks. Now put this in a dry, warm place until it is doubled in bulk. So now uncover your bread. This is 1 egg beaten with a fork. That's your glaze. And carefully, lightly brush every single square centimeter with your egg glaze. Don't press because you'll deflate what has so beautifully risen. You can brush once and then wait a minute or so and brush again if you want a really, really deep brown crust. Preheated 375-degree oven. It's going to take about an hour to bake. Now, if you were going to insert eggs with the eggshells dyed red, put your bread into the oven for 10 minutes. Remove the bread, stick these eggs into the braid, then put it back in the oven and bake for the rest of the hour. So now here are the 2 gorgeous breads that we have made. Red eggs are an important part of the Eastern Orthodox Easter tradition. The red eggs symbolize the blood of Christ, rebirth, and renewal. I do not suggest you eat them because they've already been hard-boiled and then they have been baked in the oven for an hour and they're not very tasty, but they are very pretty. And I just wanted you to see, this is very light. How pretty that would be on your table. And I know you're dying to see what it looks like when it's sliced. I can just take a nice piece off. It's crusty, it's soft and flavorful on the inside. Don't slice it too thickly. Serve it with unsalted butter. Wouldn't you like to have a taste of this right now? A Greek classic that you will want to make and share.